The question came up in our third seminar: is experiencing the world around us the ultimate essence of beauty? It's a great question, because I've been stressing the importance of experience. Life and art can't be emotionless and icy, can they? I mean, when we call something beautiful, it's gotta mean it's touched us, right? Beauty just doesn't exist without emotion, so experience is key. Then a student asked, is our experience of the world the main point of aesthetics? The answer is that it's the basic starting point. Through this experience, we can move towards creating artistic images and constructing a whole different world. We step into an inner perspective, diving into the experience of existence. This kind of experience sparks our imagination. When life experience and imagination come together, it creates a whole new world, what we call an aesthetic image. For instance, let's take the symphonic poem Ode to the Red Flag, 1965, by Lu Qiming, which is like a storytelling piece of music. So, what's this symphonic poem really showing? It's like painting a picture of a make-believe world, the People's Republic of China. This piece celebrates our home country, New China, as if it's given a real-life image. But where exactly does the People's Republic of China exist? Well, we say it exists in the real world. But for it to exist, it's first and foremost a political dream, a conceptual truth within the political realm. This truth hasn't come true in real life. A free and democratic republic is basically like a make-believe world, right? But now, it's being shown through this artwork. How's it shown? Does it need the listener? Well, first and foremost, this piece of music needs to have an inner point of view. This short symphonic poem pulls us into its inner point of view. When we're listening, we're not just caught up in the beautiful sounds of the instruments or the catchy melody, we don't just stay there. We get a peek inside a surreal world of ideas. We've never actually seen the People's Republic of China in a tangible way, but through this music, we can feel it, with all its shine, but it's not real. This non-real world, by using its inner point of view, shows a potential reality. And then we, the listeners, step into this inner point of view, based on the experiences of the Chinese people. Especially after all the tough times in modern history, these collective experiences shape a vision of a free and democratic republic. Of course, it's a vision created through feelings, which is what we call an aesthetic image. Other groups have similar music, like Sibelius's Finlandia. When us Chinese hear Finlandia, we can tap into that world too. Then, we can use our imagination to come up with an ideal for our own Chinese nation. Since we're not Finnish, there's a difference in experiences for people of different backgrounds. But at the core, it's the same, so when we listen to Finlandia, and Finns listen to Ode to the Red Flag, they know it's on the same wavelength. It's just that Finnish and Chinese experiences bring different meanings, and what they dream up is different too. But what is it, really? It's the creation of a non-real world. Back when I was a kid, I remember the teachers going on about communism, during my primary school days. They talked about this perfect society where there's no class conflict, no money, and no private property. It was all just theory, but it got us thinking about what it could be like. We only understood communism as a concept, never really experienced it, right? But you know what? Through art, we can actually see it and feel it. My first real encounter with communism's emotional vibe was when I watched the opera Sister Jiang, 1964. So there's this famous song goes, "I dedicate my youth to communism." When I heard it, it made me feel happy. It's like communism gives off this emotional glow that just makes you feel good. I know it's not real, but in that song, it creates this cool picture in my mind. That's why I think communism becomes this kind of artistic symbol. I wanted to share these examples to show how we connect with art and slowly get drawn into the art itself. What does it mean to enter an artwork? It means entering its internal vision. When we enter, we participate in a great thing called the formation of aesthetic intention. It is akin to access to the non-real world. The access to the non-real world is the occurrence of truth, which is not the same as truth defined narrowly within the confines of epistemology. We used to think that truth was just about uncovering the real deal in the world around us. If truth means that to us, we're taking a scientific view. In science, truth is about getting to the bottom of things. But that's not all truth is about. It wasn't meant to be just that. If we were to delve into epistemological inquiries here, we would be departing from the philosophy of art. We can never obtain the so-called truth of the thing that exists independently of us. Knowledge is not about exercising our cognitive abilities to focus on something that is entirely independent and separate from the act of knowing. It is not this way, and it can never be. At this point, it cannot be claimed to be tenable. What is the premise of knowledge? The premise of knowledge is that we already live in this world. What does it mean to live in this world? It means that we engage with things, handle them, and, to use the language of Marx's philosophy, it is called practice. We put theory into practice. When we stop practicing, when we can't put theory into practice, that's when we start thinking. Therefore, when we associate art with truth, according to traditional philosophical thought, particularly in the Western tradition, it seems quite strange. Beauty and truth should be viewed as parallel. Beauty is one kind of value, and truth is another kind of value, merely existing side by side. However, it is impossible to discuss their unity. Let's take a look at the following passage. Heidegger gets us thinking again about this. In his essay, The Question Concerning Technology and Other Essays, in the first section called The Origin of the Work of Art, Heidegger says, beauty and truth aren't just next to each other. When truth shows up in the work, that's when we see beauty. This visibility, as the existence of truth in the work, is what we call beauty. Our typical way of thinking keeps beauty and truth separate. For example, when we're digging into theories, we're after truth, and when we're doing art, we're after beauty. That's what people usually think. But Heidegger is saying that when he talks about the work, he means the artwork. So, when an artist nails a piece of work, truth just naturally becomes part of it because it comes through in the artwork. Artwork isn't like theory, it's a physical thing, an object with form. And in that artwork, truth comes alive, and that's what we call beauty. Beauty isn't just about what looks nice, it's actually the way truth shows itself. When we talk about relying on form, it's because form helps us see things clearly. It's like a spotlight on existence. When truth takes on a form, it becomes visible. So, it's important to remember that our grasp of truth may only be limited to what we know and understand logically. Us humans, with our knowledge and skills, try to uncover the truth about the things around us. Take science and technology, for example. We often think they are objective and value neutral, right? But here's the thing. It's a feature of our time that science and technology aren't neutral or free. Think about it. Why do people today use technology to manipulate the material world? What are the basic principles of modern natural science? To describe the natural state using numbers. How does science reveal the truth about a natural state? It's when the natural state can be successfully put into mathematical formulas, right? Once this is done, we consider the natural state be understood. Where does the need to describe the world and natural state quantitatively come from? It comes from the desire to control the world. And where does this desire to control the world come from? In Chinese ideology, do we have the need to control the world? No, it's more the unity of heaven-earth, right? There are two ways we interact with nature, one is art and other is technology. For instance, the skill of a craftsman is basically art. So, when a craftsman is working, they also have a certain artistic vibe. How do we work with nature these days? Mostly through technology. What's the basis for using technology to work with nature? It's all about quantifying the natural state. Successfully quantifying means putting it into mathematical formulas. Where does this approach come from? It stems from the capitalist mode of production. You cannot say the capitalist mode of production is neutral, it reflects a certain understanding of things. What is the natural world? What is the meaning of the natural world? Is it just a large pile of material for us to process with our technology? When the natural world is understood merely as the physical, material world, what does this understanding conceal? It conceals a certain way of defining the meaning of the natural world. Does Chinese thought define the meaning of the natural world in this way? No, the natural world is forever our home in which we dwell, not an object for us to manipulate. This is the idea of the unity of heaven and humanity. This touches on the need to rebuild our understanding of truth. All those so-called objective, value-neutral theories on the surface actually reveal truths that are disconnected from meaning. But true truth is always related to meaning. Okay, this may not be the main topic of this course. But it's necessary to discuss, because once we invoke the concept of truth and relate it to artworks, we are also seeing the creation of artworks as the primal occurrence of truth. I'm quoting Heidegger again, and maybe this can help us understand better what original truth means and why it shows up in art. Heidegger talks about the origin of art in, for example, a building like a temple. He says that the temple, just standing there all calm and still, gives things an appearance and gives people a chance to think about themselves, like self-reflection. Similarly, literary works do not just describe reality, but rather elevate it. Heidegger says the language of tragedy does not just discuss the struggle of the new against the old, but rather transforms the language of the people, changes their way of speaking. What is this transformation for? It is so that every essential word engages in and pronounces a decision: what is sacred and what is profane, what is great and what is small, what is courageous and what is cowardly, what is noble and what is vulgar. So, when we talk about a tragic work, Heidegger doesn't see it as just depicting the fight between the ancient Greek city-states. It's not just showing this fight, but it's actually getting right into its nature. How does it do that? By shaking up the way people speak, and what happens then? Each word gets in on the action and decides things. What's sacred? What's not? What's big? What's small? What's brave? What's wimpy? This is the language of literature. We might think that the language of literature is just painting a picture of life. Nope, it's actually getting involved in life, revealing the essence of life's struggles, giving these real-life struggles a real battle cry. That's how we should see it. When we use literary works to mirror real life, it is definitely a reflection, and because it's reflecting through the artistic tools of literature, it's taking things up a notch. We might be thinking of it this way, but it's not the whole truth of literature. Literature jumps right into the struggle. So, an amazing work of art is a statement about the arrival of a new era, not just a retelling of things that have already happened. In that sense, we can understand completely it's said that a work of art is the original emergence of truth. The creation of work of art is event where truth comes to light. Heidegger said that art reveals truth. The artwork not only creates a world but also maintains it. Through art, the truth of existence jumps into the piece. Art is in its essence an origin, it is the preeminent way in which truth enters into existence, and thus the way in which truth historically comes into being. When we talk about the truth being an event, it's because the artwork's internal vision and the viewer's interpretation together create this event. So, the development of aesthetic images is a social happening. We're not referring to works that just please our eyes and senses. We are talking about genuine works of art, which are events of the primal occurrence of truth within the historical trajectory of human society. This event is one that is co-constituted by both the internal vision of the artwork and the imagination of the recipient engaging with it to form the aesthetic image. So, what's an aesthetic image, you ask? It's basically the truth that comes alive within the artist's vision. If a piece of work is just shelved away, truth doesn't get to shine. Take a poem, for instance. The poet writes it for their own eyes and mind, and its whole existence is limited to his inner vision. What's the real deal for a piece of work? It's all about being accepted. And its acceptance is a big social deal, leading to many things happening, including people pouring in with their critiques. Whether it's words of praise or harsh criticism, it's a social affair that shapes a nation's artistic tendencies. Why are we downplaying the role of art criticism? We get into discussions about the craft and artistic value of a piece. But if we can't see art criticism as the pursuit of truth, we're totally missing the point. When art criticism is seriously undertaken, it is through the internal vision of the artwork that this occurs. Art criticism draws upon the internal vision of these works, and in doing so, the aesthetic image of an entire people is unfolding, and their truth is occurring. Our discussion ultimately revolves around the aesthetic's intentions, completing the discussion from the second lecture on the existence of the work itself. Looking at the art scene in China right now, it's seriously lacking genuine art criticism. Artworks are either left gathering dust or analyzed by folks with craft degrees, who critique on techniques but seem to miss the mark on truth. Yeah, that's the deal now. But hey, a new era is dawning, and the Chinese folks are gearing up to get back into the truth-seeking game in the art world.